Now, I was told to not go off-roading with it because it's basically brand new, but I just couldn't help myself. It's a Jeep. What else am I supposed to do with it? When you think of Jeep, most people think of Wrangler or the Willys thing. But the Grand Cherokee has, for over 30 years now, been a staple of the brand. So how is the Grand Cherokee holding up on its third decade? Before that, I'd like to thank Walker Jones Automotive Group for providing me with this vehicle. It is for sale, and if you would like to purchase it or one like it, there'll be a link in the video description below. On the surface, this 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee L Limited, the L stands for long, is gorgeous. I like that it's longer. It has an impressive presence while not having the appearance of being awkwardly tall. Its size makes the 20-inch wheels look modest, and I appreciate that they went with a 20-inch rim instead of something larger for the sake of ride quality. They could have easily fit a 22-inch rim on this, but chose to top out at a 21. The same level of modesty continues on the interior. A simple touch of leather with some more leather and some more leather, along with piano black trim and dark wood accents, makes this sub $50,000 truck feel more expensive than it actually is. The touchscreen infotainment and digital instrument cluster brings a modern touch to the SUV icon. I really like the subtle lighting behind the instrument panel. It adds to that premium feel. And once again, I appreciate the inclusion of a radio volume knob and climate control temperature switches, but stuffing it all onto one panel below the touchscreen can be quite confusing at first. Below that is the shifter, which speaks for itself, but it's more of like a deep Louisiana accent, so you're not really sure what it's saying unless you're paying attention to it. I don't specifically hate the rotary dial shifter. I just don't think the placement in the middle of the center console was well thought out. It's not a normal hand placement or movement for me. I really like being able to go back and forth between reverse and drive to edge myself into a tight spot. And with the rotary dial, I find myself finding park more often than I'd like. You also have to plan ahead where your hand needs to be to complete a shift into park without running out of wrist rotation. And it's really my only gripe with the car that can't be fixed with money. The other thing being the radio. While its operation is fairly straightforward and wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard, the base audio system falls flat. And even with the fade set to center, it still sounds like it's all coming from in front of you. And if you're in the third row, you might as well stick to AirPods. This could be remedied by the optional 9-speaker with subwoofer system that this car curiously didn't get. Outside of that, this thing is incredibly well optioned for a limited. Tech package gives it some very desirable features like a surround view camera, rear view mirror camera, wireless charger, and ventilated front seats, along with, weirdly, a massive moonroof. The tow package gives it some nice to haves like a Class 4 hitch, headlight leveling, and heavy-duty cooling, and a blackout package that gives it gloss black wheels and trim, making it look more sinister than it has any right to. And while the box for side steps is checked, I'd rather it have not been. Exiting can be a struggle as they don't make a big enough difference to want to step on them, but trying to step past them is awkwardly far. I think it's good for somebody who's more mature, who takes more measured movements when exiting a vehicle. They do a better job of entering, allowing you to step up before falling in, especially for smaller children climbing in on their own. The back seats have ample space. Sometimes one must sacrifice for third row legroom. The third row is, like my subscribers consider me, good enough. Interestingly, you can fold the third row headrest from the radio display, which could lead to some humorous interactions with an unsuspecting friend. There's a neat little camera on the headliner Jeep calls the Fam Cam, which allows you to watch your back seat area from a bird's eye view. Those with infants can keep a better eye on their rear-facing tots. Just like the Prologue last week, the child seat anchors are easy to hook and can be accessed by pulling back the leather on the second row seats. There is no built-in entertainment back here, but Chrysler has so graciously installed an army of USB Type A and C chargers to power any portable device. There's also a 110 outlet on the back side of the center console. The only thing I find odd is the placement of the cup holder, which seems out of place and simply glued to the floor. I guess it won't break off when somebody inevitably steps on it. Back in the driver's seat, it's big, it's firm, it's American. Power all the way around with a lumbar up-down adjustment. The steering wheel has a lot of buttons that do everything you'd expect. Instrument cluster controls are on the left side, along with like answering and ending your phone calls, with radio volume and station control on the back, along with paddle shifters if you're feeling frisky. And feel frisky all you want. It's not gonna make it any faster, which, honestly, what do you expect? It's a school bus. The 300 horsepower Pentastar V6 is adequate, if not archaic. It's probably one of the last engines to be running around with port fuel injection instead of direct injection, which is good if you don't want your valves to get all carboned up. This, oddly enough, hasn't had really any effect on fuel economy. It gets high teens around town and mid-20s on the highway, which is expected for a vehicle in its class, but it's really impressive for a vehicle with rear-wheel drive based four-wheel drive and a proper 6,000 pound towing capacity. Well, I don't see anybody conquering the Rubicon with one, you should have no issue tackling a washed out dirt road or pulling your neighbor out of a ditch. Now, I was told to not go off-roading with it because it's basically brand new, but I just couldn't help myself. It's a Jeep. What else am I supposed to do with it? I don't have any shopping needs, and I definitely don't have any kids to take to school. And honestly, this might be the only time that this poor beast gets to leave the pavement, so I might as well see what it's got. Unsurprisingly, it feels at home out here, which this is nothing that my Fiero probably couldn't tackle, but then again, I'd feel a lot less nervous in this than I'd feel in a Fiero. Like most Jeeps, it gives you the illusion that you can go anywhere, and most of the time, that's all that matters. On the road, it's very comfortable. The motor does seem rather busy, but that's to be expected. Wind noise is kept to a minimum. It has to be incredibly well insulated, as any noise on the outside is almost inaudible even at a stop. Thankfully, the used car market delivers on vehicles like this one. While it is still a modest $47,000, it is almost $10,000 cheaper than an equally optioned brand new one. And while that's expected for a used car, the mileage is not. With under 1,000 miles, it is basically brand new, and it has almost all of the warranty to back it up. And if you're a Jeep person, then it's a Jeep thing, and you probably understand. Just like how you should get subscribed to Tread Depth for more mediocre used car reviews. And like always, we'll see you next time. They're not gonna know. Oh man. They're never gonna know.